So we're jumping on the bad wagon.
Bad wagon.
Bad wagon.
The bad wagon. Go ahead. Go ahead. Number one. Go ahead.
I can't. I still need to read that book. I haven't read it yet.
What about
Maybe.
you?
So I will have a
Rebrew.
brew. Okay. The next then for number 8. The next two they're it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome back. It's June. It's almost the end of June, but it's still June. Happy Pride. Happy 1-year anniversary. It's the middle of the year, so we are jumping on the bandwagon and we are doing
The mid-year book freak out.
We did this tag last year for the first time, very quickly and very early when we started creating videos. So we decided to do it again. We've had a very productive reading year so far. So we wanted to do the tag. We wanted to share some of our favorites and least favorites of the year with you. And then tag a few of you to maybe join in and see what you think. Welcome back to our channel. We are Shelf Possessed. I am Craig.
And I'm David.
And if you are new here, we are a gay couple living in the Midwest, and we love all things books, talking about books, reviewing books, sharing books with you. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because it really helps us out if you can hit that button for us. Also hit the like button, subscribe, comment, like, share the video with someone who you think might enjoy this channel and invite them along for the journey. And comment down below, what are your best books of the year so far? And do you think these books from the first half will make it to your very favorite books at the end of the year? That's what I'm most curious about too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Should we dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Number 1. The best book that you've read so far in 2022. What is the best book you've read this year?
Right now, this is gearing up to be my favorite of the year so far, and that is Anna Dorn's Exalted. This was the first book this year that made me stop and say WTF during a very crucial part of the book. I love that in books. So just the writing is just fantastic and the story is great. 2 phenomenal, great female characters.
Well, mine is a reread, but I still think it's the best, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I fell in love with this book in a much different way this time around and was super invested. So this is my best book so far this year. Not a new release this year, obviously. It's about 5 years old, but still, I fell in love with this book again, so I'm just super excited to be able to go back to it. I want to reread it again before the end of the year, see if I get anything new from it again. So, yeah.
All right, and number 2, the best sequel you have read so far, which kind of segues, your choice segues into the next one. And I think that was for both of us, right?
No, I have my own sequel.
Oh, really? Okay. So mine was Taylor Jenkins Reid, Malibu Rising, which kind of connects Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, and the next book, Carrie Soto, is back. Yes. So this was a very great read. This is one of the only really good audiobooks that I read this past year. So if you get a chance, read the audio and also get a copy of that.
Yes.
This was fantastic.
I also read that, and you'll see my thoughts in our June wrap up. But I liked it a lot as well. So Yeah. The best sequel that I have read, again, another book, spoiler alert, you'll see this in our June wrap up. The best sequel I read this year is Tracy Flick Can't Win. I really liked this. I thought it was an interesting follow up to Election. So if you've read Election, I would recommend that you read this. I had some issues with it. I didn't read too many sequels this year, so this was one of the like I think 3 books that I read that was a sequel. So I do have some thoughts, but I still think it's great, and you'll see Tom Perrotta's name come up a little bit later.
Okay, new release you haven't read yet but want to. For me, this is Otessa Moshfegh's Lap Vona. It is actually arriving today. It's supposed to be disgusting, morbid, disturbing, all the things that I love. So that's on its way. It should be here
Yeah.
any minute.
Have you read Otessa Moshfegh before?
No.
Yeah. I'll be curious what you think. I've tried twice and did not succeed either time.
This is supposed to be her first book where she writes in the third person. So I'm really interested in that because she hasn't done that. She did not do that with her first kind of 3 books that she wrote. So so I'm interested in that. What about for you?
You saw this in our book haul, but mine is Cult Classic by Sloane Crossley. It's still on my list. I'm actually waiting for the audio from the library so that I can do them in tandem because I've heard the audio is also very good. And it's about like an 8-week wait for the audio. So I will get it read. I just haven't yet, but I'm excited to read this one as well.
Most anticipated release for the second half of the year for me is Sandra Brown's Overkill. I know that is really shocking, but last summer I read her book Blind Tiger, and that was the first Sandra Brown book I'd ever read in my life, and completely fell in love with it.
And became obsessed.
Very, very obsessed in a way where I'm not so much a very popular book reader, but Sandra Brown kind of did it for me with Blind Tiger because it was very interesting characters, a very phenomenal female protagonist that I just fell in love with. So I'm looking forward to her new release in August.
I have a few. The one that I can pick up I think the most right now. Well, there's 2 that I can think of that we talked about in our anticipated releases, and one is Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer, which, spoiler alert, I'm actually reading it right now because I got an arc of it. So I'll have a review for you hopefully in our wrap up because I'm hopefully going to finish it by the end of the month. So the other one is The Pink Hotel, which we talked about a lot in our quarter 3. I'm excited to read that as well, and that comes out I think next week, or no, it comes out in July. So in
a lot of those books come out in July that we wanted.
Yeah.
Biggest disappointment? I haven't had one yet. There has been a few that I just didn't really care for, but nothing that I was disappointed by.
Yeah.
No. What about for you?
Mine was Devil House by John Darnielle. You heard me talk at length about that in other videos. The book, I think, is a well-written book. It just was not what I was expecting, and so it was a huge disappointment when I finally got to the end because I did not get anything that I was sold. So that's probably my biggest disappointment. My biggest surprise, I don't know this. I guess it might be a surprise to you. I don't know. Was Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I, picked this up on a whim because everyone else in the world is reading it, and so I was like, well, let's just see. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. You'll hear more about this in our June wrap up, but I genuinely shocked that I enjoyed it because I don't read fantasy. So I was happy. I was very happy about this one.
Mine was Vladimir by Julia May Jonas, which surprised me at first when I got this for my birthday, and I think it was just the cover. The cover is very misleading, but this is still very fresh in my mind because I just finished this a couple of days ago, and just was completely immersed and just completely fell in love with the unnamed narrator of this book, and it took me for a very nice ride, and I think this is this kind of moved its way up to my top 10 of the year so far. You're going to see a lot of those in this too.
I want to read that one too, so I'm excited that we
But
have it.
it's just really interesting, and I don't really want to talk about the cover because it kind of gives it away a little bit. We'll talk more about it in our wrap up, but it's really interesting why they chose this cover.
Yeah. The next one is favorite new author. And mine is not a new author, but it's new. I mean, his work is somewhat new to me. I've read more of his work this year than I have ever. Because I read, well, it's Tom Perrotta. You saw me talk about The Leftovers earlier this year. I read Election in high school, but that was like the last time I read Tom Perrotta. So to have read now 3 of his books this year alone, I was shocked. I loved this book. I love this book. Probably one of my top 10 of the year, even though it didn't come out this year. But I definitely love this book, and I love Tom Perrotta's voice, because this combined with Little Children and Tracy Flick Can't Win, like, yeah, I love his voice. And do we still have Mrs. Fletcher?
No. I really, really liked Mrs. Fletcher. I think the series could have been better.
Yeah, but the book was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the book was really good.
Yeah.
A book that kind of just crushed me in the best way. An author that I just can't wait to read their other books that come out. It's R.B. Mertz, Burning Butch. I think what hit me the most was, if you are queer and you kind of grew up in the church, especially the Catholic Church, what that kind of does to your psyche and kind of does for your world as you are growing up and coming into your own sexuality. It's a lot of stuff that you have to contend with growing up. So I connected to it that way. But I think this book was just very beautiful, emotional, and I'm going to talk more about it in my wrap up, because it's not a feel good book by any means, but it just, it makes you feel, if you grow up that way, that you're not alone.
Your newest fictional crush. I'm going back to Evelyn Hugo for number 8 and number 9, and that's Harry Cameron from Evelyn Hugo. I liked that character when I read it the first time, but I was really more obviously drawn to Evelyn. But to then understand Harry in a different way as I was reading it, I was just like, I love him so much, and I just want him to be happy and like get what he wants in life. And it's just, I don't know. I don't love that his trajectory is somewhat tragic, but that as a character, I just loved him, and I just had such compassion for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That says a lot about our taste, because I immediately went for Nick Riva.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Even in Malibu Rising, where he's
I know
he's such an asshole in both books.
It's the bad boy, I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
My favorite fictional crush is Harry Booth. I just came out of the Nora Roberts closet this year, and I just read her new work, Night Work, and the character Harry Booth in it, I just kind of fell in love with. Harry Booth in Nora Roberts' Night Work is, I would say, my biggest crush, my favorite new crush. Anyway, book-wise this year, just a character who is very emotionally connected to who he is and to his family. You kind of fall in love with him in the first couple of chapters, because his mother is going through a very horrible ordeal, and he's there to take care of her. And just a very beautiful relationship that he has with his mother and with his aunt. And those relationships kind of help send him off into the world. And it's just how those two women in his life kind of help him connect to the women that he falls in love with, and how to respect and to love a woman, even though he is a burglar. But you do what you can do, right?
That's a very convoluted and complicated plot.
I know, but it was just a very beautiful experience, and he's right there at the top.
David has officially now come out of the popular fiction closet.
I'm not going back.
We've had this discussion multiple times that you really fell in love with both of these female writers this year, and like you felt some sort of like shame about it because they are so popular.
Yeah,
And
because also like nobody ever really talks about their books, and or you
not
know,
on BookTube at least.
no.
Yeah.
So, but it was these specific books that kind of, I think it was just the character-wise. Character-wise, I just kind of really connect to a lot of the characters that I read this year. Favorite character is by far Hornclaw in The Old Woman.
That's her name?
The knife. That is her. That's her
Like
kind
assassin
of
name?
assassin name.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know about all of you, but this experience with this character, this 65-year-old assassin, just blew me out of the fucking water because this was just a fantastic read for me. And her journey through the whole experience was just fantastic. So that's one of my new favorite characters.
The next two for me are kind of, I have two books that kind of did both things. So I have two for that. So the first one is a book that made you cry, and the next one is a book that made you happy. And I had several books that made me happy, and then there were a few that like got me in my feelings. But I do cry. I'm not like emotionless, but I don't think I've ever cried at a book. Like I don't know that I've ever put a book down and like started crying.
Yeah, you have.
What book?
A Little Life.
I don't think I cried though. I
Did
think
you?
I was sad, but I don't think I
think you
cried.
cried.
I mean, maybe, but so I had two books this year that I've read so far that were at times both making me very very happy as a reader, and then other times making me very sad because of what was going on. So the first I think is unexpected for anyone, but that's The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This book did make me sad. I didn't cry, but it did make me sad. And then it also made me happy. I was so happy that I was finally reading it. I was so happy that I was so invested in the story. Like, this book just made me very, very happy in a lot of ways, but also very sad in a lot of ways, too. Like, if I was going to cry at a book, I would have cried here. The next one is Olympus, Texas by Stacey Swan. This is also a book that surprised me this year a lot. This is not normally where I go in my reading style, so I was surprised by that alone. But this book was so investing, and there's something that happens in this book that was surprising that did make me like inherently very very sad. And when I understood what the book was based on, I got more sad, but then I was just really happy that this book even exists. So if you haven't read this, I recommend it.
One that made me cry was Colleen Hoover's Reminders of Him. There are moments in this book that make you very uncomfortable for the main character who's trying to get forgiveness from the people that she hurt. And it's in those moments where you kind of want to stop reading because of how uncomfortable it is, but you know that you have to get through that. And it almost starts to make you think about anything bad that you've done in your life and that you need forgiveness for. So you start, well, at least for me, I started to make a list of stuff. But I was like, oh, if she could do it, I could do it too. But there were some moments where it was just very heartbreaking, especially between her and her young child, between her and a family that she had hurt in the past, and all of that. Also, if you've done this bad thing, are you capable of being loved as well, which is what I got from that. So very heartbreaking experience to read, but still a beautiful moment in my reading life this year. One that made me happy, which was very, very, also surprised me, was Genevieve Gornichek's The Witch's Heart. Especially the main character in this book becomes a mother, and just the beautiful relationships that she kind of creates in this kind of magical kind of world, which really, really made me happy. And by the end of it, I was crying, I was laughing, I was happy, And I'm just glad that I experienced it. And you'll get more about that in my wrap-up.
Second to last one is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year. I think we had a fair number of them that were like in contention here. Mine was a book that I had not read yet that I am excited to read, but I'm also nervous to read. But you saw this in one of our book hauls this year, but we bought Her Fearful Symmetry, and this edition specifically is beautiful, limited edition. Can't believe we found it for the price that we found it for. But the beautiful cover, and then the way it's like, you know, the pages are all black. There's some really, really cool like engravings on the inside, and some, I don't know, it's just, it's absolutely beautiful. The font, the text, like, it's signed by the author. So like, we kind of lucked out in finding this copy of this book for sure. And even the spine is like, it's beautiful. So I'm even just more excited to read it just because of the spine in and of itself. So
mine is Claire Coda's Woman Eating, another cover that I'm incredibly obsessed with. Just a very beautiful cover that kind of connects with the story as well. So yeah, that's another one that I want.
Framed. Yeah, we could do that.
But also you can see there's 2 cracks in his neck that look like teeth.
Mm.
So there's that. So
yeah,
another beautiful cover.
What books do you need to read by the end of the year? And we would be here for hours if I like just took you through the shelves, because there's so many books that we've purchased this year, even just in the last month and a half, that we need to read. But I bought these books because I wanted to continue on, because I read A Court of Thorn and Roses. I bought A Court of Mist and Fury, and I need to read this. My intent was to read it by the end of this month, but this baby thick, so I don't know that I'm going to finish it by the end of the month, but I do want to read this before the end of the year, because I'd like to finish the whole series before 2023. So, and the other one is another Sarah J. Maas. It's Crescent City, because I just bought this and I wanted to start this series as well, because there's only 2 books in this series, so I could read this one and then get the other one done pretty fast and then wait for the third one if I liked them. So yeah, those are the 2 that I need to finish before the end of the year.
Mieko Kawakami's Heaven was one of my favorites last year, and then the U.S. just got her new novel, All the Lovers in the Night. So I have not started it yet. It's been waiting for me to kind of pick up. So that's one. Just a very beautiful, beautiful writer, as well as Kimmy Cunningham Grant's The Silent Woods is another one that I've been waiting for to read. So amongst other things, the Nora Roberts back catalog, of course.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of books to read, though. So
yeah, but I also like Nora Roberts. She does a lot of, every year she does like a trilogy as well. And then I just started her newest fantasy trilogy.
Oh yeah, we just bought those 2 books
so
for
we
you.
have 2. The next one's coming in like November or something. So
I'm gonna finish those before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Maybe we'll do a whole month where we just read fantasy.
Yeah, because we've. When did you start reading? Did you just start reading fantasy, like really diving
Just
into
this
it?
year. I mean, this month, because I think Court of Thorn and Roses is the first fantasy that I've ever read. That's the mid-year book freakout tag. We've read a lot of books this year. I just looked at my story graph, and as we sit today, I have read 40 books in 2022 so far. My reading goal is 75 books for the year, so I'm ahead of schedule, which is great.
I just started on Storygraph like a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
On
that
there,
link is down in the description below.
I have 8 that I posted.
Yeah.
I need to go back, and I just don't. I'm trying to find time to do all that, but it's easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
To post those, because I was like, I'm going to have to do a lot of writing or whatever, but really, it's really, really easy to do.
Well, with Storygraph, the best part is you don't have to write a review. If that's not what you're into, you don't have to write a review.
Because you can do it if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to. But I pushed back against that for a very long time.
Yeah. I'm glad you're doing it. I don't know, it's just really nice to look at your reading trends, and the way you've reviewed books, to see how many you've read, what you liked, what you read the most of, to kind of see what the year is going to be like. So I like that a lot. I also re-upped my Goodreads account because I was using Goodreads more frequently to find new books. So I just updated my account, and started posting all of the books I read this year in there as well. So I could have my reading challenge, and because there are definitely more people there than there are anywhere else. So, but that's our mid-year. That's where we are this so far in 2022. Put down in the comments below right now, as you're watching this, if you got to this part of the video, comment down below your best book of 2022. And is there a book that you've read this year that you think that we should read that we have not yet read? Put that down below, because we definitely want to compile all of your recommendations and maybe have a month where we just read
Recommendations.
yeah, your recommendations. So put those below so we can start keeping that list. Have you had a good first half of the year?
It's been a little up and down for me. There's been like little kind of like starbursts of books that I really, really love, but then there's been ones that have been a little bit mediocre for me. But other than that, I think there's been a few that I just absolutely love.
I when I was looking at my trends for the year, I started in January only reading like 3 books, maybe 2 books, and then every month I've progressively added more and more and more. So like I think by the time we even get through June, I'll be up to 11 books, maybe 12 if I'm lucky. And that's a lot. Like that's like the most I've ever read in one month in a long, 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 long time. So I'm super happy with my growth so far. So and that's it's all because of you, baby. Thank you for coming back to our channel. We are so lucky to have all of you, and we hope you enjoyed this mid-year book freakout tag. Check in the description box below. We will tag 3 other channels and put them down there. And if you are tagged, if you have not yet done this, you should do it before the end of June if you have a chance, because we want to know what your years have looked like, I will post the questions in the description as well. So if you aren't a video creator and you just kind of want to watch and play along, copy and paste those questions and put the answers to them in the comments down below, so we can see all of your books as well, because we'd love to see what you think is the best of the year so far. So thank you again for coming back. I am Craig.
And I am definitely going to vote in August. David.
Thank you for coming back. Check us out on Instagram
At @shelf_possessed.
and check the links below. You can find our Goodreads and our Storygraph and a couple of other places you can find us on any corner of the internet. And thank you for coming back again, and we will see you in the next one.